Hello AOS fans, Robin here, and I'm back again with another book review for you. Yes, I did one right at the beginning of January and I'm doing this one right at the end, although it will actually be February by the time it comes out. 2021 isn't quite working out as I had hoped, so I haven't done any other book reviews, but I have got an absolute doozy for you today. Yes, I have got Radio Life by Derek B. Miller, which is it's not exactly a debut novel, it's a debut science fiction novel. Derek Miller, I think, has written a couple of crime novels before. Certainly won the CWA Dagger Award a couple of times for things, I think. But this one is his first foray into science fiction, and it is an absolutely brilliant book. I can't recommend it highly enough. It is a post-apocalyptic novel, so it's set sort of 400 years after the fall of humanity, which will occur, according to this book, in about 70 or so years' time. There are sort of big structures of cities left vacant. Nobody really knows what happened. There are the buildings, people don't go into them very much because they're deemed to be full of sickness, but not everybody was killed by this sickness. There are a few tribes left, and it's sort of obviously a hostile kind of in Mad Max almost type environment, not quite that brutal, but the people are distrustful of each other, and they, it's a sort of subsistence living. Generally, information is traded, things are bartered, and there's one community in particular called the Commonwealth, and they live inside this massive old, what turns out to be Olympic stadium. And they're kind of like the king of the hill, if you like. They are the most forward-looking, they're progressive, they're trying to recreate old knowledge and technology and things in a very limited way. And then the other players in this novel are called the Keepers, and they're almost kind of the opposite. I suppose they are almost like the religious type of the novel, which is an interesting juxtaposition in itself. And they are... they don't want knowledge to be expanded upon, particularly because they believe that it was the pursuit of knowledge that ended up destroying humanity in the first place. So why would we try and get back on that footing? Which you could sort of see they might have a point. If we could put some of the weapons and things that we have created over the years back in the box, would we? Is a question the novel kind of asks. And so those two forces are kind of squared off against each other. Once they fight, they're squared off each other, and the Keepers herald their arrival by blowing up one of the skyscrapers. So they have explosives, and that causes it to collapse. And one of the Commonwealth runners, who's kind of like an explorer type person, is out and about, and they're actually caught in the explosion, and they're trapped inside this building, which they believe to be full of sickness. But they don't die. Instead, they find a safe room, and inside the safe room is a radio, and from the radio they can actually transmit back to the Commonwealth of the stadium, where they have a radio, but it doesn't work very well, so it can't transmit, it can only receive. So you end up with this situation with the Keepers outside the stadium, the Commonwealth inside the stadium, and the Commonwealth can speak or can listen to this person and know she's out there. So do they rescue her, don't they rescue her? That's kind of one of the many questions asked in the novel, and it is just superbly created. It very much felt like, I don't know if any of you read Wool by Hugh Howey. This is another really great post-apocalyptic book. That kind of pressure society, kind of isolated but insular society. They can come out of the stadium. They do come out of the stadium, but it kind of had that feel. It's very different in some senses to the silos in Wool, but that kind of fledgling community with secrets and trying to find ways to survive is sort of, the two felt reminiscent. I'm not sure which I prefer. I love Wool. I think that was really good. They're very different in tone in the end, and I think this one might edge it. This one I'm still thinking about now. It's a really interesting idea. This kind of idea of knowledge and history. History is really important to the novel. The Commonwealth are trying to recreate the history, trying to find out what happened, try and work out what happened. And kind of as the novel goes on, it kind of asks a really interesting question. I think we all kind of have heard the phrase, those who don't learn from the past are doomed to repeat it, or don't learn about the past are doomed to repeat it. It's not that well known, because I can't remember what it is. But that idea that if we don't learn history, then we might make the same mistakes as our forebears made. But this book asks fascinating question is whether that's actually true, because obviously if you think about some of the wars and some of the terrible things that happen in the world today, they are often perpetrated by people hanging on to old grudges and old bits of information and that kind of stuff. So maybe if they just let go and forgot it and didn't learn it, maybe sort of certainly religious wars and things wouldn't occur, and maybe humanity might be a bit nice to each other if it forgot a little bit more often. So that's kind of the central theme of the book. It's absolutely brilliant. The characters are brilliant. There's an array of characters. It's got a beautiful kind of three-tiered exploration of humanity. So it looks back at our society, then it looks forward a little bit to the society that collapsed in sort of 70 years. So there's a little bit of sort of science fiction kind of speculation there. But then it also has this amazing, I would say melting pot. It's not really a melting pot, but it's kind of various tribes inside and outside the Commonwealth, how they interact, and how the various powers that be inside the Commonwealth, because it's a very political situation. There's various leaders with various ideas. The fantastic philosophy and history, and the way they've learned, the way they've re-established themselves after the big apocalypse and after humanity settled down a little bit. It's all amazingly woven into this brilliant story, and I really can't recommend it more highly. It's called Radio Life. It's published by Joe Fletcher Books in the UK. I'm not sure it's out in the US yet. It's Derek B. Miller. I'm definitely going to go and pick up his crime novels as well, because I really love this. I thought it was really good, and I do hope this is kind of all sort of mostly self-contained, so I'm not sure there'll be any more in this area. There could be, but I don't think there will. But I really want to see what this guy has to write next, because I found it really deeply interesting, and just it stayed with me. So that is Radio Life by Derek B. Miller. As I say, I can't really recommend it highly enough. Check it out, really good. Joe Fletcher Books. Check it all out. I'll put links in the description below to where you can find Derek, hopefully on Twitter, and where you can find the book on bookshop.org and places like that. So, do check it out. It's a really great book, and so I can't recommend it high enough. It's 2 for 2 really good books in 2021 so far, so some things are going okay. And hopefully I'll see you soon on another video. Until then, take care.